Yo, what's going on, Canes fans? Everybody that's viewed and tuned in. Brad and Bo podcast coming to you with another episode, man. We got a different scenery tonight. Usually we're chopping it up at the crib, man. This time we got to do a little differently. Bo, what's going on tonight, man?
Chilling, man. Yeah, we had to do it a little bit different, but I tried to still get my stuff in the background, my old son, and all that stuff. But we're gonna get it done regardless. You know how we are.
Hey, man. If it's not me and you getting it done, I know another team that's getting it done. That's our Miami Hurricanes, man. Talk about coming
Yes,
off
sir.
another victory, right? 2 weeks. I know it's only 2 weeks in, man, but we're looking like a top 10 team. The media is ranking us like a top 10 team. But our guy Cam Ward, man, Himothy, the man is looking more than a top 10 quarterback right now. I mean, we just saw the Miami Dolphins play last night, and I think they half that fan base is cheering for Cam Ward already, hoping he could be in the Dolphins uniform. So there's a lot of NFL teams already looking at our guy Cam Ward. But going into this game, man, against FAMU, some of the things we kind of chopped it up about on last week's episode. If you haven't watched it, make sure you go back and watch it. Tune in, hit the subscribe button for us on the Brad and Bo podcast. But one of the big things I was mentioning, Bo, going into this game was Coach Cristobal and the head coach for FAMU had a very, long distance relationship as far as going way back to like middle school. They knew each other from back in the day, and knowing who Mario Cristobal is as a person, he's not gonna go full force on guys that he respects, in my opinion. But this is a year that's a lot different, right? You got the firepower at offense and defense where you're gonna have to just go out there and sling it and score points and dominate. And that's exactly what he did against FAMU, man. 56-9, covered the spread, dominated. We'll get into bets and parlays later on in the show, man. But what really stood out to you, Bo?
Oh man, honestly, just that level. Just honestly, just being comfortable as a Miami fan. In the past, you just never really know. I mean, just being comfortable, knowing that we had that game in the bag. I honestly just wanted to see some players step up. You called Mark Fletcher last week, I believe. He had a touchdown, but Cam Ward was Cam Ward, which is what I want to see. Even with it just being FAMU, I think we look nice with no Ruben Bain. I think D-line still play good. So I just want to see us build on that. I know we got Ball State this week. I don't know too much about them. I know that they've only played one game against Montana State, but hopefully we handle them too.
Listen, I mean, I'm pretty sure we played Miami, Ohio last year, and they were one of the top teams in that division last year. And they mollywopped Ball State last year. And I think Ball State only had like 3 or 4 wins, if I'm not mistaken, last year. They have a lot of turnover on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, they're kind of relying on a little bit of transfer portal guys, kind of similar to us, just not big impact like us. We'll get into that in a second, man. But you mentioned Cam Ward doing what Cam Ward does, man. 20 of 26, over 300 yards, 3 tutties, no interceptions. I mean, that's what you want to see from a Heisman caliber type quarterback, man. And not only did the offense, really spread it around on the running game, man. You had I think four different rushing touchdowns between Cam, Damian, Mark Fletcher, and Jordan Lyle.
Yeah.
You really had a contribution of guys out there. And then, of course, X did X things, bro. 4 catches, over 100 yards and a touchdown, bro. Can't ask for more. You hold the rushing of FAMU to, 52 yards the whole game while you run for 225. I want to continue to see that number going up, going into Ball State, which we'll talk about now. I believe Miami PFF right now, Bo, is like number 50th in the nation in rushing. I want to see that number get up. When you got guys like Damian Martinez, Mark Fletcher, and a good offensive line of what we think we're capable of, and a guy like Cam Ward at quarterback that could really test the defense and have you on your toes with throwing the ball deep. I need that number to go up average wise, man. We should definitely be a top 15 rushing offense when it's all said and done with the running back by committee that we got. What would you think?
No, yeah, you actually sold exactly what I was going to say. I really do want to see a little bit more from our rushing game. I thought that was going to be the head of the snake, honestly, with us. But I mean, with Cam Ward being so fucking good, it's hard to be mad at it because he really is that good that you don't really need to ground and pound like. But I do want to see those guys go ahead and get in the rhythm because as the season goes on, we're going to need to lean on that a little bit more. As we get later into the season, like you said, and I think we're pretty deep at running back, so we can spread it out, give everybody touches, and just get those boys ready for when it's time to start playing big boy ball.
And I mean, speaking of big boy ball, bro, I think we could both agree. Guys like Wesley Bassett and Jaden Harris have really stepped up, bro, and really, made an impact on this defense like we were hoping for them to do in that second and third year. I think Jaden Harris led the team in tackles last game, was all over the field, and another guy that, again, you talk about, by committee, man. This defensive line, we knew before the season, like we had Ruben Bain, you had Akeem Mesidor coming back, but those are two guys you're not even really hearing about yet, and it's guys like Tyler Barron, bro, that second in the nation in sacks right now, had 3 by himself against FAMU. Like, bro, this dude is relentless. Like, I think Mario quoted that he's built like an avatar, and seeing him in person, bro, and watching how quick he is, like he really gives you Jalen Phillips vibes, bro. Like, I really think once Ruben Bain comes back, we always imagined and always wondered, like, what would our defense look like if Jalen Phillips and Greg Russo were able to play together, right? And I think this might be the year you might be able to see something close to that with like a Tyler Barron, Ruben Bain, and throw a Key Mesidor in the mix.
Yeah, no. You've been big on Barron all season. You've been telling everybody about him. I remember you going off on the Florida fans in the chat about that boy. So you definitely been standing on business about him. Yeah, man. I like what we got on the D line. I like what we got at linebacker. Our secondary, I think, is better than I expected and what a lot of people expected. But again, I mean, we haven't really been tested quite yet. I'm So I'm still holding judgment on a few things. I mean, our front seven, even coming to the season, I already told you how I felt about them. I thought we had one of the best in the nation. So I just want to get into some big. I don't want to overlook Ball State or anybody else, but I'm just ready to get into some big boy ball. But it's always fun to watch the Canes play. So even if we blow them out, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, it may be a couple more weeks till we get into big boy ball, but you mentioned Ball State, so let's go ahead and get into that, man. The Miami Hurricanes are now ranked number 10 in the nation, so we are now a top 10 team going into tomorrow, 3:30 ACC Network. We're playing Ball State yet again, sitting at 2-0. We're playing another team that is undefeated when we play them, right? I think every team we played so far, they had no losses in the column when we play them, and we give them an L. So I'm starting to like that trend. This is a Ball State team that, yes, we're in week 3. They've only played one game and they are undefeated. And they got a lot of confidence behind them, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be too much for them, man. I think they got a transfer quarterback and a transfer running back that they're really relying on. I just think the competition that they're playing compared to us is just night and day. Um, I'm I'm liking the Canes by a lot. I know the weather might be a little iffy tomorrow. Between the weather tomorrow and you're talking about a field that's now going to be played the 4th time in 7 days between college and NFL games. I just one of the strongest things with us, man, is our trenches and going up against Ball State. If it gets to that point where it's a rainy type of game, we're gonna just be able to pound it. And like you said, man, we both agree we need that running game to go up in average. This might be one of those games where you do it.
Yeah, especially if the weather's going to be like you say. I mean, we already know what Cam Ward can do. I trust our receivers. I do want to see a little bit more from Sam Brown. I haven't seen what I thought I was going to see out of him yet, but it's only been 2 games, so I'm not too worried about it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think we need to ground it, pound it. I don't think there's no reason to be airing it out or anything. Let's keep the receivers healthy. Let's keep the quarterback healthy, and let the big boys do what the big boys do.
Yeah, Nick brought up a good point about Ball State's offensive line. They are one of those teams, like Mario said in the presser a couple days ago. He kind of gives some credit to them because not only do they have the physical stature of most of those guys being, around 6'5", 300 pounds. So you're not going to be lining up against undersized guys. But to Nick's point, they do have a lot of start together. But at the end of the day, man, Miami's just already has gone up against way stronger caliber, not only last year, but as bad as us Miami fans
Florida.
talking about Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
Florida is still a pretty good team. I think their defense actually is a lot better than what people think about them, especially their defensive line. I think our offensive line will have already been tested the most. They will all season going up against that Florida D line.
Yeah. I think the same thing. I think we've already seen the best D line that we're going to see, so I'm not really too worried about it. Again, I'm not trying to overlook anything, but as long as, like I said at the beginning of the season, the only team I see beating us is us, honestly. So as long as Miami come out and do what they're supposed to do, and it shouldn't really be a problem.
Nah, facts. Well, going into before we leave
Wait.
football,
We I know we ain't at the same spot, but we haven't taken our shots. What's going
oh,
on?
we have. I mean, I've been sipping on a mixed drink this whole time, but you're right. Let's.
Me too.
I gotta grab me a shot.
Go ahead.
Me too. Hold on. Oh man. See, look, man. If you would have been here, man, we could have had, since we're gonna be talking about them later on the show.
Oh man, yes sir.
You could be having the Shay, but
Well, believe it or not, man, I'm on white tonight. I'm trying a new thing to see if it
oh wow,
less of a headache.
With the white.
Yeah, I'm with the white tonight.
Okay.
So, cheers though.
Yes, sir. Woo. All right, so
for me.
Before we leave Miami football, we talked about our previous matchup against FAMU, how we dominated that game. Now we finished talking a little bit about Ball State in our matchup tomorrow. Like we said, there really isn't going to be much to talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about a certain player or position group, Bo, before I talk a little bit about recruiting before we move on to fantasy football. But is there a certain position group or player that you're still looking to kind of step up this weekend?
I believe I mentioned it to you. The entire running back core. I want to see those boys. I really want to see those boys get the ball. I know what I receive. Well, I also said I do want to see what Sam Brown can do. I expected a little bit more out of him. I think his talent is better than what he's shown us so far. I don't know what the reasons might be. The teams we're playing and stuff like that. That everybody gets a little bit of something. But I do want to see more from him because I think we're gonna need him to take some of the pressure off X along with George. And that's honestly, I want to see our D line keep going. I want them to show their real deal even without Bain out there, because if those boys can show what they are without them, and then once you add that back in, I think it's just scary for the whole nation, honestly.
Yeah, I think with the D line, I think Tyler Barron has kind of already cemented himself as being that guy, but I want to see Akeem Mesidor kind of finally cement himself back this year. Yeah. We heard about him all offseason. He hasn't really done much so far in 2 games, and he didn't play much the year prior. So, excuse me, Akeem Mesidor is what guy, and also Justin Scott. I think between those 2 guys, I want to see one of those guys kind of emerge while Ruben Bain is still out.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the opposite side of the ball, you kind of hit on the head. I think between Isaiah Horton and Sam Brown, we're going to find out this weekend who's going to kind of emerge as that third guy. Me personally, I think Isaiah Horton has kind of done everything he needed to so far. Anytime he's been in the game, for the most part, he's taken advantage of every opportunity, maybe minus 1 or 2 times between the Florida and FAMU game. I know he had a pretty contested catch in the back in the end zone. That was a perfect pass by Cam Ward against Florida that he should have caught. But at the end of the day, man, you win some, you lose some. I just like the fact that he's trying to, contest those, and we're actually going for fades and corner, end zone touchdowns like that, which we weren't being able to utilize those guys in the past, right? We were throwing, 3-yard touchdowns to Mike Harley, in the red zone, which is not what you want, right? But I think between Sam Brown and Isaiah Horton on the offense, we're going to figure out between this weekend and next weekend when we play South Florida. I think that's going to be an underrated game to look out for.
What they did to Bama, boy, they gave those boys a scare.
So here's the thing. I think the scoreboard kind of doesn't show much, because when you watch it, Bama really was like very one-dimensional. Like they didn't really open up their playbook much. They really ran the ball most of the time against South Florida. So I'm really interested to see how Dawson is going to game plan for that South Florida game, because I don't even think in this Ball State game you're going to see much of a different playbook. Like we've been very single based, right? We've been very
Yeah.
vanilla from an offensive standpoint, but that's a good thing because we've still been dominant, right? That just goes to show you that you could game plan for what we're going to do and we're still going to run it. Like, perfect example, bro. Cam Ward, week 1 against Florida in the swamp. The motherfucker literally pointed in the red zone, said, "We're gonna run it right here in the middle." And sure enough, we ran it right in the middle. Mark Fletcher hurdled over, scored the touchdown. That's the type of like charisma and like balls you need as a quarterback, and just like that demeanor that you need. We've never had that at quarterback, man. So I love that. But going back to what I was saying before, man, I really think at the end of the day, we're going to be dominant, not only in this Ball State game, but the South Florida game. I want to see if we do open up the playbook or if we can still be vanilla against a team like South Florida, because they are playing at home. This is going to be one of their biggest games at home for them. So they're going to try to sell out and kind of make this like their championship game. And we're kind of used to that anyways, right? It's just now we're not used to actually dominating and actually going into games thinking we're going to blow people out because we got a quarterback and talent around them, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to have to take care of business. And I think our real true test will be against Virginia Tech.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we'll be good, but like I said, I'm not looking past Ball State. We'll get that. We'll try to get that win. Saturday. I know we'll get that win Saturday, and then after that game, we can start looking into USF, even possibly going down for the game.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I'll make this short and sweet, man, because I know you don't really care too much about recruiting, nor do you really
Not today,
follow it. But
not
I
today. Put
do.
that U on their hand.
Yeah, man. But there's people out there like myself, man, that definitely follow the recruiting, each and every day. As y'all know, there's twists and turns. But this is a big weekend for Miami for recruiting, man. We got a lot of good big time visitors. You got a lot of commits that are coming back this weekend. Guys like Herb Scrugens, defensive lineman, Marcelin, Amari Wallace, Bryce Fitzgerald, Dante Simpson. Then you got guys that are committed elsewhere. Floyd Bucard, who's the defensive lineman at Miami Central, Oklahoma commit. Derry Norris, who, most Kane fans don't really like the kid right now because he ended up committing to Georgia Tech, and there's a video of him kind of throwing the U down and smashing it. But that's a kid that Miami has put very high on their board from the beginning, and he'll be visiting this weekend. So that's a likely guy that hopefully will flip to Miami. One of the big names that is going to be visiting this weekend, though, is Michael Carroll, offensive lineman from IMG. He's a 5-star offensive lineman currently committed to Alabama. Even though he goes to IMG, which, as Miami fans know that follow recruiting, that IMG to the U pipeline is something serious. So watch out for that one. And the fact that we finally got him, to come to Hard Rock this weekend and actually making him feel like a true contender for Miami. I think he's one of those big time guys that really just needed to see it to believe it, to kind of give Miami a chance. And he's finally doing that. So this is going to be a big key weekend for a guy like Michael Carroll, because even though he is committed to Alabama, as we know, offensive lineman, there's no better duo in the country than Mirabal and Cristobal as far as coaching and developing. And even though he goes to IMG, Bo, he's actually originally from Pennsylvania. And I found out a little story behind the scenes that, sure enough, the best player to ever come to Miami as far as basketball was this past year, Jaleel Bethea, number 1 recruit, highest recruit Miami has ever had in basketball history, who's going to be an absolute animal. So if you're a basketball fan and you're a Canes fan, that's the guy you're going to watch out for. But he's from Pennsylvania. Long story short, the two guys are very close, it seems like. So this could be something where basketball might really help the young man, because having a guy like Bethea, who's a 5-star commit, who could have went anywhere in the country to play basketball, and he chose Miami because of the lifestyle, the campus, the degree you can get, and just overall everything. The fact he did that for basketball, and we were already doing something for football, that could really help us plant that flag of getting a guy like Michael Carroll. So that's a guy to watch out for. People know about Kellen Riley, the Armwood linebacker. that we're still trying to make some room for. But obviously, the other guy to look out for is Elijah Griffin, big time defensive lineman out of Georgia. He's a 5-star guy. Georgia is the favorite right now. Miami's been working on trying to get a visit for him the last 2 weekends. It hasn't really worked out. He was supposed to visit tomorrow. I don't know if that happens. It'll probably get pushed back to Florida State if it's my guess. But that's really it for 2025. I don't usually like look too far ahead, Bo, but 2026 class, I know years back, I used to tell y'all boys when Jerry Jeudy was a freshman, he would be that guy. Some of these other Jeremiah Smith, I've been high on Jeremiah Smith since he was a freshman, said he would be that guy. He's going to turn out to be the best college wide receiver of all time. I'm telling you that right now. You can put it on record. I don't care what you do about it. He will be the best wide receiver to ever play the game in college. Mark my words. I'm not the only one saying it. Kirk Herbstreit, other people are signing off on it as well. But I've been high on that guy from the jump. But another guy you need to watch out for.
We talking Julio Jones. Mike Crabtree. Guys like this.
Yes. The best ever.
Devontae Smith, who won a
ever. Okay. I'm telling you right now.
I love Smith game. So I love his fucking game. It's hard to argue with it, but ever is that's a strong statement. I'm talking about Julio is a college legend.
I'm telling you, bro. Look, so check this out before I get to this comment by Jafet, man. And by the way, man, appreciate you tuning in and commenting. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for us if you haven't already done that. But going back to Jeremiah Smith, bro, this is a guy that everyone that knows South Florida football knew this kid was going to be it, like in second grade. Played for the Miami Garden Ravens all the way up, legendary team down there. But once he hit 8th grade, he was a difference maker. It was a wrap after that. He started getting, his body growing to what his talent is. And you could see day one as a true freshman, the dude's already NFL ready. And all the great wide receivers that have came out of Ohio State, and especially in the last 5 or 7, 10 years, you talk to any South Florida guy, you talk to any Ohio State guy, they are all saying the same thing. This dude is surpassing every single one of those guys in anything you talk about. He is different from everyone else, bro, and he will be the greatest wide receiver to ever play college football. I really believe that he'll win a Heisman in the next 2 or 3 years. I believe maybe even this year. Who knows, bro? Like, he's already scored 3 or 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He's the leading wide receiver for Ohio State as a true freshman. Like, the dude is a dog. He's about that.
Yeah. He's a guy for damn sure. I don't know anything he's saying, but that's the limb out there when Julio exists at Alabama, Mari Cooper.
I know. See. But this dude, I'm telling you, this dude is like that. Anybody that knows football, if you watch this tape, he is. But going back to Javet's comment, I agree. DJ Pickett, as y'all know, DJ Pickett, family ties to Booker Pickett, defensive lineman, true freshman on the team. Also ties with Cannon Pickett, 2026 offensive lineman, who Miami is the front runner for. Him along with Grant Wise, who's also, a Miami, tie guy. Those are the 2 offensive linemen in the 2026 class you need to watch out for. 2 of the best offensive linemen in the country. And both of those guys are already got Miami Hurricane ties. So I like where we stand with there. But going back to DJ Pickett, yes, absolutely.
Even though I was going to ask you about that. So
even though he's committed to LSU, man, we're going to continue to chop wood. And as long as Miami continues to do what they're doing right now, man, DJ Pickett will be a Miami Hurricane. I truly believe that. It'll be similar to how Ruben Bain and JoJo Trader were back-to-back cycles. There was Florida State and other schools flirting with them to the end, and Miami ended up getting it done. I think it's going to be the same with DJ Pickett as long as we continue to do that. But going back to the 2026, the reason why I said this about Jeremiah Smith and Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Russell just got off the phone with my uncle who's reffing the Miami Northwestern game right now. I told him to watch out for this kid. Calvin Russell is like that. 2026 kid. He is very high on Miami. I like where Miami stands with him. Not only is he a wide receiver, he's 6'5", right around 190, 195. But not only is this man amazing in football, but he's just as great, if not more legendary in basketball. This dude is going to be a 2-way player. He may be the first 2-way player at Miami in a while since Jimmy Graham. But this dude is like that on both fronts. And I like where we stand with Calvin Russell, along with Derek Cooper out of Chaminade Madonna. But that's kind of it with the recruiting. Russell, along with.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that shit. You know, I love a two-way player. It's been a minute.
Hey, man, now that we could transition to this next topic, right? Speaking of can't wait to get to something, you were talking a lot of shit about how you were this fantasy football god and you don't lose and everything you touch turns to gold. So now that we're a week into fantasy football. We're now into week 2. As y'all know, Thursday game just happened last night. We'll get to that in a second. But let's rewind to week 1. We've already a week gone by. Bo, I need to ask you just 2 or 3 questions real quick for the people listening. All right. So the first question is, did you win your first week?
I actually did win my first week.
You what?
I won my first week.
You won against who? Wait, in our league?
Against Vargas. No, this is another league.
Okay. I'm talking about the league that we talked about on online and this show.
No, man, I got cheated. But yeah, no, I lost. I'm 0-1 in our league. But this is how y'all know Brad's a fucking rookie because he takes first game to heart. He thinks first game means everything. You know, anybody that's won multiple championships know it's a long race, man. No. I had seasons where I started off, 6-0 and didn't win. I had seasons where I started out 0-5 and won the championship. I mean, but I'm a 5-time champ for a reason. I make adjustments. We'll be okay. You know, the boys practice hard today. We watched some extra film. We're ready for the week coming up. I like where we're standing at right now.
Listen, this is all about receipts. That's all it is. And speaking about great adjustments, we'll get to great adjustments in a second. But my second question is, who ended up having the most points week 1 in our league?
Your sorry ass did, Bear. I
mean, okay. I'm just understanding. All right. And then here's my third question. Speaking of great adjustments, who had the greatest pickup of fantasy week 1?
The greatest pickup
in fantasy week 1?
Shit, probably me.
You.
If I had to guess,
who'd you have that started week 1 that you picked up before the game? And I'll tell you mine.
Oh, nobody before the game. Who'd you have?
I had the Chicago Bears defense that I picked up 2 hours before kickoff, and they scored me 26 points.
I mean, they should have lost that game, first of all, but I mean, I'm not gonna give you kudos for the Chicago Bears defense. Are you gonna run him back? I bet you won't run him back this coming Sunday.
Listen, Bo. See, this is. I'm glad I just set you up, man. You just teed me off perfect to my next bullet point, right? What you got to understand with fantasy football, Bo, is when it comes to kickers and defenses, you alter those things every single week. You go based off the matchups, and that's exactly what I did. I drafted the New York Jets, which should be one of the top defenses this league. Obviously, week 1, they didn't do their part. Week 2, they may not do their part. But guess what? As a fantasy football guru and someone who knows about this shit, you know that with kickers and defenses, you go straight off the matchups. And that's exactly what I did with the Chicago Bears and the kicker. So again, week 2, which we'll get to in a second, I got a different defense and I got a different kicker again. But going back to my point, that is one of my tips for anybody that's just now starting fantasy football or just trying to get, better at fantasy football. Kickers and defenses, alter them every week. Don't feel that you are occupied to just one guy or one defense. You need to look for the worst quarterbacks or the guys that are in slumps or when guys get injured. Like, for instance, whoever's playing the Dolphins this upcoming week, I would recommend getting that defense. With Tua being out, Skylar Thompson looked like the man never knew how to play football in my life. Tua lost me some money last night, man. I was ready to hit like $400. And the guy Tua, the guy Tua not only lost me money, but he lost me a lot of headache earlier today because we had Tua Dolphin fans who, as y'all know, if you're a Dolphin fan, most of the time you're a Hurricane fan. We had Dolphin Tua fans coming into the space, Bo. I kid you not. I talked to you about this earlier. I don't even want to bring this up anymore because it makes me sick. But we had Dolphin Tua fans come into a Miami Hurricanes Twitter space today and get so upset that people were saying, Tua needs to retire, or, even before he got the concussion, he threw the 3 interceptions, or he should have slid instead of putting down his shoulder. This man got so upset. He said, in quotes, I hope Cam Ward tears his knee and gets injured for the rest of his season. So y'all know how it feels and y'all don't laugh. And he's a Hurricane fan, Bo. I am disgusted. Like, when I tell you everyone in that space, there was about 150 people in there. They were asking for his address. They were ready to kick him off an island. He's not a Hurricane fan this year. They already, like, we already all agreed, like, this guy cannot be welcome until after the season, if that. But the fact that you went that low, this is the greatest quarterback we have ever had as Hurricane fans. I don't care about Vinny Testaverde, Ken Dorsey, Jim Kelly. That shit's cool. Great. But this motherfucker, Cam Ward, is different. Different than all of them.
Definitely most talented quarterback we have ever had.
And for you to wish that on him, Cameron Himothy Ward, with the season he's having, and as happy and hyped as we are for this season, to wish that on a quarterback like him compared to Tua, turn the ball over. Not Tagovailoa, it's turn the ball over. Tua, turn the ball over. That is what we're talking about.
I mean, honestly, that's lame as fuck, dumb as hell. I don't wish, you don't want to see, I'm such a big sports fan. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, even from a team I don't like or a rival team. Like, even that shit with Jordan Travis last year when he fucked up his leg, like, I didn't want to see that shit. Like, as much as I hate Florida State, he's still a kid at the end of the day. I mean, I know sometimes we forget, but we're fucking adults. Like, these are kids playing the game that we just love to watch. So it's no need to wish bad on anybody. I mean, it's not that fucking serious. No matter who you're a fan of. Tua, I mean, if we're talking straight up wise, like, Tua isn't a good quarterback. I mean, that's just what it is. And the injuries and the fact that he injury prone doesn't help. But I don't see why, like, that it being that has to lead to, oh, I hope another kid gets hurt because my pro team quarterback got hurt. I mean, I think that's lame as fuck. But, everybody's different. Everybody's raised different. Not everybody, is the same. It's a lot of fucking, lanes on the internet.
Does he have one or zero playoff wins?
Who?
Does Tua have 1 or 0 playoff wins?
I don't think he has any.
I don't think he has any, right?
No.
Well, I mean, we were gonna kind of go to this. I mean, before we kind of wrap up the fantasy football thing, you got any things we could put on receipts for next episode that I could hold you for, or maybe any fantasy football tips for any people listening or viewing that may need some help on fantasy? Either one.
I mean,
what you got?
Well, I'm hoping for a bounce back week this week. Obviously, Jordan Love was my quarterback. He's fucking out for a while. So I got Matthew Stafford starting. Honestly, I'm honest. I don't know if I have any advice. I would say see Marvin Harrison Jr. through. See him through. I think that was a bad showing. He was open a lot. Kyler missed him. I think when they go back and watch the film, Kyler see that shit and he'll realize he's one of those dudes where if it's 50-50, give him a chance. He obviously doesn't know him that well yet. So I tell people don't be down on fucking Harrison, but also I feel bad saying this because hopefully some dudes in our league ain't watching. But if you got Amari Cooper, try to dump his ass off. Try to dump his fucking ass right now.
I'm not playing you this week. I'm not playing you this week, so I don't really care. But I was very interested that you picked up Matt Stafford instead of Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is going to have a better week this week. I think even though my guy Puka ended up going down, which I still bounced back from, losing one of your top targets in fantasy football, it usually devastates you. Not this guy. I still find a way to get W's, but besides the point, I think Jared Goff, I think he's gonna have a good showing this weekend, man. And I think someone like Tyler Johnson, wide receiver, I think will probably step up in Puka's place. And they got some weapons at the Rams, man. I was impressed with how Cooper Kupp played. I ain't gonna lie, man. 20 plus targets. That's wild.
I thought old man lost it there. I was just talking shit to somebody from the other league I'm in about Cooper Kupp being washed up. But he seemed to still have it. But we'll see. It's one game. Matthew Stafford, I grabbed him over golf, but I just believe in Sean McVay. I believe in his offense. I think he can just make some stuff happen. But Matthew Stafford is still Matthew Stafford. He's still an all time talent. I think he'll find a way to always throw for over 200 yards. But obviously I'm gonna need him to get the ball in the end zone, receiving wise. So that's the big question. But he's a
Yeah,
legend. They know what he's doing, so I can take a chance on that.
yeah, I brought up those other weapons for Stafford too, man, because I think it's hit or miss. I think you probably couldn't go wrong with either one. So,
Yeah.
but I just like the way Detroit's been playing, man. Ever since that they got that new coach, bro. They've really transformed into a new team. They got a new culture and they got talent all around them, man. So I think Detroit this year is really a team to watch out for, and I think Jared Goff is a guy that could really get it done. And we'll bring up Jared Goff later on in the show when we bring up another quarterback that we mentioned here earlier. But now that we wrapped up fantasy football, let's get into one of our favorite topics. One of your favorite guys, Bo. I kind of gave him a salute earlier.
Oh shit. Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and pour up one. We're gonna pour up
Go
one.
ahead. We go ahead and pour one more.
Go ahead and pour up one for Michelle.
For Michelle, exactly. Yeah, we got poured up for Michelle.
Hey, it's that
for
baby.
Michelle. For Michelle. Oh man, so yeah, the Shannon Sharp IG debacle, man. Like, first off, before we get into this, if I know there's one dude salty out there about this situation, it's got to be Paul Pierce, right?
Oh, Paul.
Like Paul Pierce once worked for ESPN, NBA Countdown, whatever you want to say it. Went on Instagram Live at the pool table, in someone's crib, smoking, money, strippers, everything all around. And he got fired instantly. He was all over this. And you could visually see it, right? But Shannon Sharp, you can't visually see anything, but you could hear it, right? And man, I know if there's one dude salty, because he's already a salty individual, anyways, Paul Pierce. Talk about my guy D Wade, who's finally getting his statue retired in October, which I will definitely be at. Greatest Heedle of all time. But going back to Shannon Sharp, man, what was your first thoughts on the Instagram Live video before we get into the reaction of us watching it live after the fact, and then me seeing the second video, which you were asleep for, but we'll get into that. What was your first overall reaction?
Well, my first overall reaction was this, like, because I leave my phone in the car, and then I go in there at lunch, and then my first text is from you, and it's like, boy, I know you seen this shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And I go look, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because obviously you don't see anything. And then I turn it up, listen. I was like, first off, that's my motherfucking uncle. That's my uncle. That's how you do it. That's how you lays it down. All right, that's how you lays it down. Boy, I know Michelle is a happy woman right now. Boy, my uncle was not playing with that ass. I was tagging her ass. Man, that shit was so fucking funny. What do you say? That's my Michelle. That's my Michelle.
Take that dick.
Hey, yeah. Oh, wait. I'm gonna give you this dick. And
then the end.
Oh yeah. Let's not forget about my boy going Super 3 on that ass. Bro, it just gave me hope for being, like, it's not all over. Like 50, you could still be out here slinging and banging. Like Uncle, he still got it. You know what I'm saying?
Look, I'm gonna say this. I respect him a hell lot more because he kind of talked about it the first show right after it happened, the reaction of it when him and Ocho went on the day after. Or no, it was later that day, wasn't it? No, it was later that day.
That day, that night.
Yeah, but originally after it happened, he originally came out and said, "Hey, my Instagram got hacked," which most people
bullshit.
Most people was bullshit anyways. But the fact that once they got on air on YouTube, and the first thing before we even get to that, man, the lead up to it had us so hyped and ready because his first infomercial, and the first thing he was
Yeah.
promoting was sex pills. Like
Yes,
he was literally capitalizing on the
bro.
moment between the t-shirts and the sex pills. It was like, bro, me and you were texting back and forth. We were watching
Yeah.
it live. We're like, oh, bro, this is money right here, bro. He's already like he's going with it. We're about to
I
see
think it's
some shit.
Rose Sparks. I ended up ordering some. I ain't gonna lie. I had to
Oh my god.
I had to cop a few. You know, Rose Sparks shit. Unc, I'm trying to see what that be like. You know what I'm saying? You
Oh my
50, like
god.
had to match me at 30. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, man. But anyways, with that, bro, he went on there and the first thing he said was like, "Look, man, my publicist or whoever running my social media account, they took the initiative and said, hey, man, I'm gonna already go ahead and put that you got hacked." And as soon as he saw that, he said, "Nah, man, take that down. That ain't it."
Yeah,
So he owned up to it. So I respect him for that. But
that's why
I
he
will
owned.
say I will say though, there's a but to it. That reaction show right after the day, man, it could have been way better. Like I was
Brad,
a little disappointed, man. They were taking it way too serious, man. I wanted a
Brad,
lot more clowning into it.
bro, I was so fucking pissed watching that shit. I was like, are they okay? So like, Unc is a good dude. Like he's a serious dude. He cares about the people around him and how what he does make other people look. But I don't think this was one of those times. Like, bro, like this was just some funny shit that happened. You could have capitalized so much more off this if you would have just came in clowning. Ocho, I think Ocho. I was surprised Ocho came in serious because he don't take shit serious. But I think he was like so hell bent on his get back from what Unc did about him being late and all that shit that he was like, you know, like, look, yeah, we all make mistakes. Now I'm gonna give you grace. Like, it wasn't. Them boys should have been clowning about it. I think they pissed me off like the first 5 minutes of it. Like, bro, it's not that serious. It's a viral moment of not a bad one. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like another Cat Williams one. Like because it's not like it was on purpose. Like if Unc had been out there on a sex tape looking into the camera, beating Michelle ass, you know what I'm saying? That's one thing. But obviously his cell phone was like off to the side. He didn't know he was being listened to. It's a funny moment, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I think they could have handled that first part of it better because it was just funny, bro. It was nothing serious about that.
Listen, the second video, which was out, it came out last night, I believe, because I hit you up and you didn't respond till this morning. But I don't know if you ended up catching up with that video. But they ended up having Cam Newton's, Snoop Dogg, Kai Cenat, and a few other people, a few other celebrities. But they ended up having all those guys join the show, and they were clowning. And like that was the show that they should have premiered the first night, like when it
For
actually
real?
happened. That
Okay,
that shit
I
was hilarious, bro. Like they were going in and they were all having fun about it. They were all asking him questions and like being a lot more specific. And you could tell Shannon was a lot more laid back, where it just felt like the reaction as soon as it happened, the first video, it felt like he was very down on himself. Like
it felt like
where
he was
people,
doing that more for ESPN, so they didn't think like,
yeah, just trying to make sure he still got
yeah.
his
And
sponsors and whatnot. Which I don't blame him, right? Like this this is a dude that got it out the gutter, right? Like he went to college at Savannah State and became one of the best tight ends of all time, in Denver Broncos history.
And
So
in case you didn't know, when he was at Savannah State, he was thinking about transferring. The college he was going to transfer to was Miami. He was
I
going to
know,
go to Miami, and then his
I know.
coach convinced him to stay. So he's sort of a Miami Hurricane in a bit of a way, you know.
Listen, man, we've heard from JJ Watt, some of these other guys. It should have been Miami from the Dalvin Cook. Like we took Joe Yearby over Dalvin Cook. We had the choice of taking one or the other, and we took the wrong one.
Yeah.
That's the decisions we're talking about. But any
But yeah,
other thing you got with the Shannon Sharp IG before we go to the next topic?
no, I mean it was funny. Good content, man. Just roll with it. If you roll into something like that where it's an honest mistake and nothing that like offends anybody, some shit like that. Like it was obviously an honest mistake, but like you was doing work, bro. It ain't like it was a bad. Like it sounded like you was doing fucking work on. So keep doing you. Don't let it bother you. I mean, the shit's over and dead with, but it's gonna be funny for a while.
Facts. I agree. I mean,
And also,
he's definitely on well with the
I'm gonna let you
anthem.
know how these sparks are, though. I'm gonna let you know how these sparks are.
Yeah, let me know about that, man. But going in our next topic, right?
Mhm.
Two of these guys used to literally rule the NFL in their position, hand in hand. Guys like Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson were at the top of the league at one point, right? These were two guys that we can both agree on week one didn't do much at all. I mean, I'm talking about flopped on flopped, right? You're talking about a guy in Deshaun Watson who played my Dallas Cowboys, only had 170 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions. Um, in the last 7 games, or no, I'm sorry, in the last 6 games, he's only had 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So this is a guy that at one point was at the top of the league in the NFL, in my opinion, is now trending down. And he's a guy that, in my opinion, once he kind of gets in his own head or feels like he's not him anymore, it's going to be hard for him to get out of that rut. So I'm very interested to see how he does, especially with the guys and the team he has around him right now. What's your thoughts first on Deshaun Watson's performance?
So his performance was disappointing. I thought he was gonna come back this year better. Like you said, what did he throw for?
169 yards,
169
one
yards.
touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, a 53% completion rate. Fucking terrible. But honestly, I think there's only one fix, and Roger Goodell. I know, like, it's all about protecting the brand, protecting the shield. You know, you want everything to look good, but please, for the love of God, let Deshaun Watson get a fucking hand job and a happy ending, because it seemed to be the only thing that make this motherfucker play good. Let this man just get his hand jobs. I mean, is
I
that
was not expecting that.
yeah? Ever since you told this man, like, hey, you can't go around getting hand jobs, he had like he don't know how to play fucking football anymore. I don't know. He must have been getting some great fucking hand massages or whatnot, but ever since they told him to stop, the man cannot do shit. I don't know if he's gripping the ball too hard now because he ain't relaxed anymore, or what the fuck is going on. Let the man just get a little rub and tug and get it out so this man can put up some numbers. We miss old Deshaun Watson. At least I do. The man was a fucking monster. Brad, I was looking earlier because I was like this dude just seems fucking night and day, bro. And then, bro, his last year with the Texans, man threw for over 4,000 yards, bro. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. His last year with the Texans, and ever since then, it's been like fucking JV football. I mean, I know he got an old lady, don't he? Like, I think he got a girl. Like, bro, can she give him something? I don't know what the fuck is going on. Maybe it's just got to be from strange women or something. But whatever, we got to fix it. We got to fix it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. His career went downwards the minute that video of him and Mia and Khalifa were playing basketball in the living room. That's when his career went downward.
That's supreme horniness right there.
Hey man, but sometimes, man, it takes a committee. You know, sometimes it takes a committee.
I mean, I always heard, like, before you play sports, like, you don't want to like release that, like, you want to keep it all built up. That helps you be aggressive. But apparently, Deshaun is the other way. He's like, yo, I got to get all this shit out of me. You know, like, I'm built up right now. I can't play like this.
Hey man, like I said, man, sometimes it takes a committee. But speaking of committee, a guy that seems like the only time he does good is when he has a committee around him is Joe Burrow. Like, going back to college, good year he had. Only good year he had in college was when he had a committee around him, right? Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Halle, you know, that promising year with Joe Brady as your OC, right? Then you talk about the Cincinnati Bengals when he had, you know, those guys and Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Mixon and some of these other guys that, you know, are no longer there. He was that. And now, going again, another guy that was in his slump week one, 164 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And like I mentioned, man, with no longer that surrounding cast, I think not only does Joe Burrow regret, but I think Cincinnati is really kicking themselves in the foot. Them and the Giants are two organizations that are really kicking themselves in the foot over getting rid of their running backs. Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon meant so much to those franchises, more than what people realize. And now that they are at other franchises, they're hating it even more. What's your thoughts on week one?
Well, first of all, you're one of those guys that didn't believe in Saquon. You didn't think he was a difference maker.
I agree.
But yeah, bro, it's honestly, it's sad to see, but like, Joe Burrow thing is a little bit more confusing than Deshaun, because Deshaun just is playing shitty ball Joe has at least had the injury excuse a couple years, but then it gets bad because it's like, all right, is this motherfucker injury prone or is he just bad? Like, did he just have the one good year and that's gonna be it for him, or the 2 good years and that's gonna be it for him? So it's hard to tell. And apparently his hand is messing with him still, but I mean, no Higgins. Chase played average. I mean, not even average, but I mean, bro, I really don't know what it is. And it's crazy because you thought Joe Burrow was going to be the one guy that can go head to head with Mahomes. He still leads them in head to heads in the regular season. Obviously, Mahomes got him in the playoffs, but you always thought like Mahomes seemed like so unbeatable. Joe Burrow was the only dude like, okay, maybe he can, do something with him. But I don't know what it is. But they always start out slow in September. Joe Burrow usually picks it up and then they're good, and then he'll either end up getting hurt or some shit. So I mean, we still don't completely know. I mean, they're always sorry in September, so we'll see as the season goes along. But he just don't look like. I don't know if it's just me, like maybe I'm thinking too, but he don't look like old Joe. Like he don't look like cool Joe.
I think again, I touched on it earlier. I think a lot of it has to do with just not having any running game at all. Like if you can't establish a run in football and be able to set up the pass, like it's gonna come to a point where it's like you're gonna get bracketed off and you're not gonna be able to do what you can. And I mean, I do agree with you as well though. This could be an overreaction, right? Like we haven't talked about Tua yet, and my God, Dak Prescott, and Trevor Lawrence is another guy, Lamar Jackson, some of these guys, and Jalen Hurts, all these guys that I mentioned, those guys have less playoff wins than Joe Burrow. So even though we're expecting more from Joe Burrow, he has capitalized on those 2 years that he had performed well. I mean, this is a guy that
Yeah.
had 5 playoff wins. People clap up and down about how good Josh Allen is, regular season, playoffs, whatever you want to say. They got the same amount of playoff wins. So you got to give some credit to Joe Burrow where it's needed. But at the end of the day, this could be an overreaction. We'll see. But I personally think if a running back doesn't establish himself at Cincinnati, which could be maybe Zach Moss, I don't see Joe Burrow performing that well this year because I do think you need to have some type of running back there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year is a make or break for a lot of quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow, he gets injured a lot. If he gets injured again like it's double whammy for him because if he gets injured again this year, it's like okay, I can't even trust this motherfucker to ever stay healthy, even if he is good. And if he plays bad, it's just like okay, he just had those 2 good years when he was on his rookie contract, and we had players everywhere for him to ball out. So it's a double whammy for him. I think Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys. He got paid, but he hasn't lived up to the potential of of being the number one overall pick and the number one player coming out of high school and all that other stuff. And who was Deshaun Watson? If he doesn't do anything this year, I think those 3 guys, like if they don't do anything, like they basically telling you what they are and what they will be.
Facts. Couldn't agree more with you, man. Going into our last quarterback that we're going to talk about the NFL. We brought his name up a few times already in the podcast. Before we get into that, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Brad and Pope podcast. We would truly appreciate it. Make sure if you are watching, drop a comment. Let us know how you feel. Any topics that we're going about, we'll be sure to bring up your comment. And if you ever want to join the show, hit us up at any time, man. We'll definitely do that. But going into our last quarterback, we're going to talk about the NFL before we get into bets and parlays to wrap things up. Tua, big controversy on this guy. Obviously, a lot of Hurricane fans watch our show. Most Hurricane fans are Dolphin fans, so they're going to be a little butthurt about this segment. But there's going to be a lot of truth right now. And one of the truths that I've always said about even my guy, Dak Prescott, as well as Tua, is they're not that guy like people think. They're overpaid. They can only do so much with the guys that got around them. They're more of X's and O's type of quarterbacks. When the pocket breaks down or when you really need a play to happen, which is really when a great quarterback makes that next jump, you see what happens with guys like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Cam Ward, and others. You need to make shit happen when shit shakes. And guys like Dak and Tua, in my opinion, don't do that, especially if you scheme them the right way. But we saw last night, man, the injury of Tua. First off, prayers to Tua and his family.
Yes, sir.
Injury. Last thing we want an injury on is on any person. And I got a lot of shit for tweeting out last night that hey, Dolphins, you want to see a real quarterback? Come by on Saturday. Had no shot against Tua. It's just me firmly believing that a guy in Cam Ward is like that. and is a lot more diverse and can bring a lot more to the table. I just never thought Tua was that good. But what was your reaction of watching the Tua hit live?
Here we go again. That's it. Here we go. Here we go again. Yeah, you're talking about like Tua not being that guy. I'm one of those guys that when he was coming out of college. I was one of those, go ahead and tank for Tua. I thought he was that guy, but I kind of got lost in. Sometimes these guys look so good because of the talent they're playing around that you forget that he's just making simple and basic throws. We've seen it with Tim Tebow in college. We saw it with Tua. We saw it with Mac Jones. Like you see these guys with these all-star casts, and you kind of forget, like, he's thrown her to, 3 first-round draft picks. You know what I'm saying? And I was one of those dudes that got lost in that. I saw it for what it was last year, but honest, the dude, he's small. He can't take hits. I don't even know what he was thinking. I think he was pressing, running. They were down and he wasn't playing good, trying to make something happen, which I can't get mad at him for. But he was definitely, he's injury prone, and honestly, and I feel bad saying this because everything he's going through right now, he's just not that good, bro. Like he's just
Well, let me ask you something. And Miami fans are going to relate to this very quickly. Who is the greatest quarterback in a Hurricane uniform so far before Cam Ward got here?
Say that again.
Who was the best quarterback Miami has had before Cam Ward got here?
Before Cam Ward got here?
In a Hurricane uniform.
Shit, I don't know. Dorsey?
Who's his supporting cast?
Andre Johnson, fucking yeah.
Okay, and how did that translate to the NFL? How was he in the NFL?
It didn't translate, motherfucker.
Okay, then that's my point. Guys like Tua and others, like you mentioned, sometimes it doesn't translate. When you have the supporting cast where you grew up the whole time from high school to college and even to the pros, you got Hill, you got Waddle, you got A-Chain, you had Moser, you had weapons. Before that at Bama, you had 4 or 5 receivers: Ruggs, Waddle, Judy.
Smith.
I mean, on top of the offensive line and the running back and Nick Saban as your head coach, right? Like you had the blueprint already for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you already are given everything your whole life and then something real happens in your life, you don't know what to do because everything's been given to your whole life, right? That unfortunately happens with quarterbacks that's just been babied their whole career. And I think that's really what happened with Tua, man. And Dak, again, I'm a Cowboy fan. I think Dak may be one of those guys too, because you saw one of Dak's best years was when he had Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. And Dan Mullen is a quarterback guru. He's a guy that can scheme up to the ability of the quarterback and make the quarterback look good. Perfect example, Felipe Franks at Florida led the SEC in completion percentage under Dan Mullen. And we can all agree Felipe Franks is ass as a quarterback. But if you know who your quarterbacks are, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know how to dictate that. Unfortunately, with a guy like Mike McDaniel, who, in my opinion, he's got to be taking shrooms or LSD or something on his off days. He's just a little loopy. But at the end of the day, he's a guy that he's very similar to Billy Napier as far as the way he schemes or like runs plays, because he has this creative mind that you can see that at times like really flash and you're like, ooh, that's a really good play. But it doesn't match up with the guys that he's using to run it with or allowing the quarterback to benefit the most from it, right? Like perfect example was AR at Florida, like when under Billy Napier. He felt handcuffed most of the time. Like he couldn't utilize what the strengths of AR was. And now that you're seeing it in the NFL at times before he gets hurt, he's able to show what he can do. I just think Mike McDaniel doesn't have the right quarterback that he wants to be this scheme with, unfortunately. I don't know about you, man, but there's a few options that Dolphin fans and this team has on the table right now. I mean, you got a trade, right? You go out and find teams, like maybe you go out and get Geno Smith, right? Maybe you have him come back to South Florida, where he's originally from. Maybe you go out and trade for Geno Smith, who's a backup quarterback right now. Maybe you go trade for a backup quarterback like Tyson Bagent for the
Geno isn't a backup.
Huh?
Geno is a starting quarterback.
You sure he's starting? Is he?
For the Seattle Seahawks? Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, he is starting. Okay. So or maybe like Kyle Trask, or maybe you try to go trade for like Baker Mayfield or something, right? Like those are your trade opportunities. I don't think there's really any more realistic names than those guys as far as trading, right? Then you can go the tank option and just ride out with Skylar Thompson the whole way through, be the worst team in the NFL, go through a super depressed year for Miami Dolphin fans, and draft Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, right? Or Quinn Ewers or whoever you think.
Honestly think that's their best option. Just let it ride out, and I think it's three quarterbacks you can choose from: Shador, Cam Moore, Quentin Ewers, maybe Carson Beck, depending on how he looks the rest of the season. You can go try to get one of those guys. I thought earlier about maybe them trading for Joe Melton, but I don't know if they would trade the Bills would or the Patriots would trade in division. But where's Bailey Zappi? Maybe they can go get his sorry ass and have him.
Here's my thing. I think at this point, which I think is going to be the most realistic option, is first off, when you look at Tua's contract, in the next 2 years, he's guaranteed $93 million, regardless if he retires tomorrow or not. He's getting 90 plus $1 million. And this is a guy that has gone through 4 concussions in the last 5 years. First one started his senior year at Alabama, right? And then recently just got the concussion last night. You have to think from a franchise program, a guy like Chris Greer, who has absolutely screwed up that franchise from a drafting standpoint, signing the wrong contracts and just really just being terrible with things. We'll get to that in a second. But with Tua, he's going to probably want to come back and try to play just because, one, knowing that family, they revolved that whole family around football. They moved from Hawaii to Miami because of football. You saw, the rumors of the younger brother playing at Maryland and possibly transferring to Miami if we didn't land Cam Ward, or getting that last year of eligibility, wanting to come to Miami. They are cemented and they are hugely invested into football. And this is a contract and money wise where Tua is going to understand where if he tries to ride this out, it's going to not only take care of his kids, but his kids, his kids. Like this is a business. And I think at the end of the day, he's kind of got the Dolphins handcuffed. And I think at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to Chris Greer. And Chris Greer isn't really good at making decisions. You see with the draft this past year, 3rd or 4th round, you could have probably went and got a decent quarterback to maybe be in this situation now where you have a good backup, right? You could have waited till the 7th round or even after the rounds and got a Matt Lee or Javion Cohen, who literally was playing in your stadium on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays the year prior and showed what they were capable of. And these are 2 guys that have already shown that have not only made the 53-man roster, but have made a difference in those franchises. Those were guys that Dolphins could have gotten picked up to help this offensive line, which is another bad thing with the Dolphins. So at the end of the day, are you going to pick up that contract? Because at the end, I mean, you're going to be owing anywhere from like $50 to $90 million. Where do you think they're going to be at?
Well, the contract is already signed. They're fucked regardless.
Do you think there was ever a concussion clause in that, knowing that he was already with 3 or 4 concussions prior to this new deal this past year?
I don't think his agent would allow that. Just knowing his history, I think it was something all or nothing. And yeah, you blame Greer. Greer has to play a part in this because you knew who Tua was, you knew the injury history, and you know he's not a game changer at the end of the fucking day. Like he's not. And I get you want a quarterback. Tua's not good, but Tua's also not terrible. He's right in the middle. And I'm sorry, but you're in the AFC. Middle of the pack ain't beating Patrick Mahomes. It ain't beating Josh Allen. It ain't beating Lamar Jackson. It's CJ Stroud. That's not beating those guys. Me, I would have took my lumps. I would have got something for him. I could have chalked up this year and waited on Shador or one of those guys to come in. I mean, you already re-signed Tyreek. You already re-signed Waddle. Your core isn't Ramsey. You got your core is intact. Tell those boys, hey, we're gonna wait 1 year. We got 1 year. We're gonna get a guy in here and then we're gonna go for it. You know what I mean? Instead of going with like a dude like you wouldn't even bet your fucking money on. I'm sure if Greg if he's a gambling man, I don't think he bets on. I bet he never put in a future bet for Miami to win their division or a playoff game or nothing.
Listen, you know, with me with my Cowboys, man, I never bet on my Cowboys. I hardly wear their attire anymore. I'm just a Cowboy fan because that's kind of how I was born with, man. If you were a Kane, you were a Cowboy in the '90s. So I kind of went with it with my mom and dad. But I'm really looking for a new NFL team, bro. I'm gonna be quite honest with you, and I've been riding the Cam Ward train even when he was at Washington State. His last and final game, there's a tweet out there of me saying that this guy would look good in a Hurricane uniform. And as soon as I knew we made contact with the dude, I stood on business and I said, we better get this man at quarterback or we're going to be screwed. And we got him. So I'm going to stand on business again, man. Wherever Cam Ward goes after this season, Bo, that's going to be my new NFL team.
That's your new team?
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get his jersey. I'm definitely going to at least 1 or 2 games. You know, I already hit up his pops, Calvin, and we're gonna make some things happen, man. But that's gonna be my new NFL team, man. I'm out. I'm through with the Cowboys. I don't really have faith in them, even though they had a good week 1. I know how this thing goes, especially at the helm. So wherever Cam Ward goes after this year, that's gonna be my NFL team.
Okay, shit. Hey, I'm glad you finally stopped drinking the juice. So it's nice to see some maturity, nice to see some growth. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, I think
I haven't been drinking the Cowboy juice in quite a
you
while.
haven't for a while. You haven't for a while.
I haven't.
For a long
I've
time.
been high on CD Lamb and maybe 1 or 2 players on the team, but other than that, or Zeke. When we had Zeke, I was all about feeding Zeke, but he's not the same Zeke Elliott anymore. But
yeah,
nah, man. But hey, man, last and final topic before we close things up. I think this has been the longest podcast we've had so far. So we've been on the go, right? Bets and parlays. We gotta try and make some people some money this weekend, Bo. What you got for the fans this weekend that are tuned in right now? Give me some of your highs and lows.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Sound like I went for a second.
No, I got you.
So, okay, I'm gonna take. This is the easy one, but go ahead and take Indy over Green Bay. Take the 2.5. Take us to cover that. They got Malik Willis playing quarterback with Jordan Love out, and he's complete ass. So I think that's an easy dub if you want some quick, easy money.
Okay.
One I think some people are afraid of, but I'm gonna take. I like the Patriots over Seattle. I'll take the 3.5. That game is at the Patriots. The Patriots play some good. I think they got a good, solid defense with Mayo. I love their run game right now. I think those boys. I think they can do something with that. I would take the 3.5 with them. And then last but not least, I'm gonna sound crazy on this one. I'm not picking them to win, but take those points. Minnesota versus San Francisco. And I know that sounds crazy with them just coming off that win, dominating the Jets like they did. But last year, Minnesota beat San Fran when nobody thought they had a fucking chance to either. But granted, they were missing McCaffrey and I think maybe Debo or somebody. But it's 5 points. I would take that. I think Minnesota play them hard. Justin Jefferson didn't play last year. He obviously will be playing this game. I think Minnesota can keep it close at home and at least make it a 3-point game.
Who's the running back that submerged for 49ers with McCaffrey up? Madison or something like that? Right?
Yeah. From Georgia Tech.
So you're believing the Madison. You think no, I'm sorry. Hold on. So you personally believe you're more higher on Sam Darnold after week 1 than Madison week 1.
No, I'm more higher on Kevin O'Connell, the coach for the 49ers. He was a coach with Kyle Shanahan for years with that team. He's kind of like him in a way with the way he likes to play call. He knows Kyle better than anybody. And Brian Flores is that defensive coordinator. I think he can give Brian some stuff. Brian might not be a good head coach, but he's a hell of a defensive coordinator. I think he can give him some shit to slow those boys down, especially without CMC, and keep that a close game. Like I said, I'm not picking them to win, but I am picking them to try maybe cover that at home.
Okay, I like it. Well, and what was your thoughts on that? I think it was like 5 or 6 pick anytime touchdown parlay I sent you on Hard Rock.
Oh, I actually like that. The only one
So I believe it was an anytime touchdown. You put $5, you make $200. Anytime touchdown for Sam Laporta, Brees Hall, Derrick Henry, Josh Taylor, Pacheco, and Joe Mixon. I believe those were the guys.
The only one I would say maybe is, I mean, I hope I'm wrong about this, is Laporta, because they love to get that fucking ball to Montgomery in the goal at the goal line, and I think most of Laporta's touchdowns are going to come from that red zone area. So that would be the only one I'm a little iffy about. But I'm sorry, but other than that, I loved all the ones you picked, honestly.
Okay, so that's another one, 5 for 200 that we just laid out, and then you brought up 2 or 3 good ones for NFL. Going over to college, the two I pinpointed for college was obviously the Miami game. I would take the spread at 35.5 against Ball State. I think we will cover that regardless of the weather. And I'll also take the over on points. The over is 55 points. I believe between the two teams is going to be over 60 with ease. So that's my 2 bets for Miami. We talked about the parlay on anytime touchdown NFL. My other college bet is none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide is playing Wisconsin. You know who Wisconsin's quarterback is, right?
Tyler, sorry ass fucking Van Dyke.
I'm hitting the fucking over on that bitch. The spread is 15.5. Take the over on that shit. I don't give a fuck if Alabama does not have Nick Saban anymore. They still got great players and they got good coaching. And any good coach at Alabama has seen the film of Tyler Van Dyke and they know his strengths or weaknesses. And Wisconsin's going to be very pissed off this weekend. So take the 15.5, Bama over Wisconsin. Those are my 2 college picks.
Yeah, I think that's fucking, that last one is money in the bank. If Tyler Van Dyke is playing, bet the other team. I think no matter what, that guy fucking stinks. I don't know how the fuck he even made it. I don't even know how the fuck he even made us think he was a fucking guy. But thank you, fucking Manny Diaz, I guess.
Oh man. Doug, speaking of Manny Diaz, there was a clip going around. I don't know who Duke was playing. I don't know if they won or lost, but there was a play going around where the guy on the opposite team of Duke either had a pick or a good catch, and he got a first down, and he grabbed the ball and he immediately threw it to Manny Diaz, and Manny Diaz was like trying to catch it and was like bobbling it. It was just something like Manny Diaz to the T. It was funny. But
I mean, he's a film room guy. What do you expect?
Hey man, at one point I thought that was the guy, man. So I can't say much.
You still got the ball in.
It was probably because he would text me or hit me up, so I thought that was pretty dope. But what you got? What you got to recap or cap things off, man, and get things out of here?
No, man, just looking forward to another good weekend of football. You know me, I love me some football season. I'm taking it all in. My plan, well, tomorrow I got the kiddos, so I'll try to watch what I can while I can. But Sunday football, I'll be on the couch all day, probably just soaking all that in, unless I end up going somewhere. But I doubt I will. But we'll see, man. I'm just. Is there any major matchups? I mean, I want to see Florida get stomped by Texas A&M, but are there any other major matchups?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the big one was where game day was going to be tomorrow. I think at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. No, it's 12 o'clock. Trying to remember what the big game was. It's losing my mind right now. But on Sunday, maybe we could go live and do a special episode on Sunday and kind of do a watch live for fantasy football and Sunday football. I think Graham hit me up wanting to chop it up and chill. So maybe we could go to Ale House or something and catch a couple games and do a podcast and something dope. Would be pretty cool for the viewers and listeners, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. If you want to do that, just let me know. Like I said, I was planning on being on the couch, but we're gonna go live and just talk shit at the bar and drink. I'm always down with that.
Listen, man, you're pretty much gonna be doing what any Florida Gator aspiration that leaves the college program and wants to go to the NFL does, and that's sit on the couch, right? They don't do much productivity in the NFL, but that's for another day, another podcast.
Might text about that shit. Watch.
But man, hey man, it was a pleasure as always. All the Cane fans, viewers, listeners tuned in. Again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Brad and Bo podcast, man. We are out. See y'all in a few days.
It was a fun one, baby.